Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus, and in this video I want to talk about, again, the law of attraction and why the law of attraction, as it's typically taught in the New Age circles, probably won't work for you, but how you can get it to work and sort of a little bit of the real scoop behind what's going on. May have covered some of these topics a little bit before, but I want to jump back into this, make some more points. Now, a few videos back, I had the big expose about Abraham Hicks that I did with Deanna Dawson from this community, and in that video, in that I guess expose, we talked about how Abraham Hicks has said some horrendous things about how, for example, victims of sexual assault brought it upon themselves because of the law of attraction. So a metaphysical equivalent of her skirt was too short, and so she was asking for it argument to basically indict victims of assault, female victims of assault. Now, of course, Hicks has said many other outrageous things, which I talked about in that video. For example, victims of 9/11 brought it upon themselves because of the law of attraction. And so anybody who wasn't on that vibration, or to use Hicks terminology, the vortex, wouldn't have gone to work that day, which again is it's a very inflammatory and nonsensical thing to say, because vortex or no vortex, whatever vibration you're on, you're making conscious choices to go in and go to work because you have a family to take care of, aging parents, you need to make money, and so you're not going to get this feeling like, oh, I'm not going to go to work, unless you just are legitimately some kind of very powerful empath, and you know that there was going to be a tragedy that day. And I think this did happen with some people. Some people got a premonition that that something bad was going to happen, so they didn't. Indeed, they didn't go to work. But it's a very, very unrealistic, unfair, and cruel interpretation of the law of attraction. And also, to me, of course, is proof that Hicks isn't channeling anything, that it's all a tactic to get followers and a cult-like following, make lots and lots and lots of money. That's my opinion. I know some of you all are still big Hicks fans, but I don't think that she channels anything. I think that what happens is that the concept of the law of attraction, as we talked about back in that video, it came out of stuff that originated really in the 1900s, books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and then the actual concepts date back further. So The Secret was not the revelation of this. It was all marketing. It's all it was. And the way it has been taught in the past, I think they call it the New Thought movement or something like this. Probably a little more accurate perception of how it works. But anyway, so what I wanted to do, though, is to talk specifically, real quick at least, about how you can use the law of attraction in your life in a positive way that may actually lend results, and how I've done that a bit and I have seen results. But just having to understand the boundaries, the limitations of how it really operates. Before we go further, if you do find these topics to be valuable, go down, hit the subscribe button, like the video, share the video, maybe even consider becoming a Patreon supporter at the Patreon link on the bottom left side of the screen. And thank you. I'm trying to increase the views of this channel. Very difficult, and so any support in that area is appreciated. Okay, so to continue. So with the law of attraction, there's a very fundamental concept that I've discovered, and that if you kind of go back into the old material about where these ideas came from, you'll see a little bit more emphasis on. And it's the idea that, okay, the law of attraction is not this superpower. You can only manifest things within the limits of the physical boundaries of the world that you exist in. So oftentimes what will happen is when you send a thought out, there's a possibility that that thought is eventually going to find a way to manifest, or it's not, depending on what boundaries it's able to get through. But almost always that manifestation happens through the kind of consciousness network of the world around us and the people around us. So the things that come into our life, it's through other people. What this means is that if you are living in a cabin in the woods and you are trying to manifest whatever it is, let's say you're trying to manifest money, and let's say you don't have any internet access, you have no connection to other people, well, how is that manifestation going to happen? Because you don't have any conduit, you don't have anybody for that to work through. So the law of attraction, by no means, you never hear about then a plane crashes and there's $1 million in it, and then you go out and you pick up the money. Like, it doesn't work like that. In my experience, a lot of people who are these faithful adherents of the LOA, I've known a lot of these people. They have no money. They're going on this kind of blind faith, which can work. It's admirable just to have faith that you're always going to have your resources provided for. And there's some truth behind that. But I've known people obsessed with the LOA, and they're literally borrowing money from me. Why does that happen? They're borrowing money from people doing the work, people who are actually going out there and putting, pedal to the metal, so to speak. And meanwhile, the people who are kind of they spend all their day on a vision board and then just imagining and pretending to be happy, walking around with a fake smile on their face and being like, I am one with the vortex. I'm just going to allow it all to manifest around me. And they do that all day. Then, when they go back to their lifestyle that's not particularly very nice, they just justify it, and they tell themselves, well, what you resist persists, so I shouldn't even think about, resist, or push back against my living situation, because that's just going to make it persist more. I'm just temporarily in this little one bedroom or whatever it is, wherever it is that you live. And soon I will have my glorious mansion that's overlooking the beach. I just have to have faith and use more LOA principles. They keep doing this again and again and again in their life until at some point they decide, here we go again with all the shuffling, crashing, banging in this apartment. Every time I'm about to do a video, you get the airplanes going over, you get the shuffling, crashing, and banging. I'm here for 3 more days. God help me. Let me get out of this place. Look, I love Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia, but it's time to get out of this place. I manifest a new place, right? Law of attraction. What did I do in my life to make me deserve an apartment that's noisy all day long? Okay, anyway, so a lot of these guys tend to be broke, and it's really sad. And they're in this cycle because they listen to these gurus and they listen to what they have to say, and so they can't get out of this cycle of they're not seeing success, but they don't want to focus on their lack of success because that's going to in their belief system going to create more of it, but they're not taking the action needed to create something new. Okay, so back to what you actually have to do to make the law of attraction work. What you have to do is understand that all the limitations imposed upon whatever the thought is that you are manifesting into reality, and how it has to work through this kind of rat maze to find its way back to you in some form or another, which may only just be an interpretation of what the thought was. So again, I talked about how I tried to manifest a Corona with lime. So I'm flying from Spain to England. I had done the interview with Andrea Zierno. He talked about manifesting the Heineken, and that's why I tried to do this experiment. And Andrea had interesting stuff to say, but I also think he's falling into the same category that I was talking about, of people who are basically broke and just relying on this, and it's not working. I think, Andrea, if you're watching, sorry to say it, I know you well enough now. I think you are in that same situation, buddy. It's time to expand your ways of thinking. But still, he had a great story demonstrating how it can work. So I spent all the time on the airplane thinking about a Corona with lime. I land in London. I meet up with my friend out there, my girlfriend, and she buys, we go to the store together, and then something inspires her to buy Corona with lime, to buy me Corona with lime, and I hadn't had a Corona with lime in 2 years. So what is the odds of that happening? And this is what will happen when you start going into the LOA stuff. You start getting these synchronicities which are just unexplainable, any other way. But to make them happen, you have to go through other people, and you have to do work. Because here's the best analogy to think about it. You send the thought out, it goes into like this rat maze trying to get back to where you are. Your job is to go find that thought. So you have the thought, it's here, it's here, it wants to manifest. This is you, and unless you're doing the work to find that, thing that wants to manifest, you're never going to find it. So you have to do equal amount of work to be moving towards it for it to catch up with you and find you. If you're just here and it's up here and it's trying to get to you and going through all these obstacles and energy cycles and other people's thoughts and problems and physical boundaries and physical limitations, that thought you're trying to manifest is just going to be stuck up here, and then you're not moving towards it, and then it's going to eventually just like peter out and disappear. But what happens is, if you're really manifesting something, thinking about something, I want this to happen in my life, and let's say it's a really big goal, it's $1 million or something like this. Now, it's a big goal. I think the bigger, harder it is to manifest, the more of a rat maze that the thought has to go through to get to you. There's this huge fly trying to prevent me from making this video also. Like, it keeps coming at me and trying to attack my eyeball, so apologize if that happens. Anyway, so you're manifesting $1 million. Now, there's a concept. It's in the programming. To use the terminology that like Chris Arcanis from our YouTube comments uses, like it's on the server side, and it's trying to get into the client side. So it's up here trying to manifest. You're here. The correct thing to do is, if you're manifesting $1 million, is to go out and network and talk to as many people as possible. Do as much physical work as possible that you think is going to shorten the distance between you and that manifestation that you're trying to make happen. So you go out, meet as many people as possible, talk to as many people as possible, open up to yourself to as many opportunities as possible. Anything that seems like a synchronicity, jump on it, because that could be something that's leading you toward it. Basically, do the footwork every day, constantly. Aiming for that $1 million. At the end of the day, after this manifestation goes through that rat maze and starts coming toward you, it might not be the same thing that you were originally manifesting, and you may find yourself having some new client. Maybe you'll make $20,000 because maybe there's been some shifts, changes, priority changes. It's not quite $1 million, not quite what you wanted. But maybe you're still going to make a bunch of money, or something is going to happen where you get $1 million in a different way. Like somehow you end up, I don't know, like getting like $1 million of, how do you say it, like net worth, so to speak. So you inherit a house or something. Who knows what happens? Like it ends up being like a net worth, or your company becomes evaluated at $1 million, even if you don't have that $1 million in your pocket. Your company grows and suddenly it's worth this much money. So that to me is the real way that it works, and how you can make this work, and how really for 2020 I'm going to focus more on it. There's been even mild manifestations that I've done where I want to meet somebody, and then that connection is very, very, very straight. Like there's, for example, somebody on TV I listen to, or a podcast host I listen to. There's been instances in my life that are so crazy where it's like, I want to connect with this person. And instead of that manifestation going through a rat maze to get to me, it was very direct, and like a bunch of synchronicities happened, and suddenly, boom, I meet the person and we're friends. And that can happen a lot, and it can really help you like network and meet people depending on like what you're energetically aligned to. And it still happens. There's a lot of cool stories in my life about that have led me to different, like even famous people. And I'll talk about that, I think, in a future video. I think maybe a video coming up where I talk about flow state. So that's really how it works, but tell me in the comments down below if that makes sense to you, if that has worked for you, if you're going to try to use this, incorporate this into your life. And Also, I want to talk about how, again, with the New Age movement, how it has this really materialistic, kind of narcissistic side to it. So people do this stuff, and it's just about making money and bettering yourself and all of that. And I think that, people, companies that have been very successful people who are successful maybe at the expense of other people, like they can do this stuff, they can manifest this stuff too, and then they can get ahead, but at the expense of everybody else, right? And one thing I don't hear about, yet another thing that like narcissists like Abraham Hicks, or I should say Esther Hicks, don't talk about is like using these skills specifically to benefit and help other people improve your relationships and make life better for everybody. You notice that point is completely de-emphasized by them. So maybe I want to know how some ways that you can implement this to help other people so that everybody's lifted up and it's not just for selfish materialistic purposes, which is what the underlining tone is in The Secret, Rhonda Byrne, Hicks, and a lot of these people, which also is really something that I find a little bit dark, a little bit disturbing. But there's a lot of dark and disturbing elements of the New Age movement. If you scratch beneath the surface, you'll find like there's a lot of things which are not really spiritual principles, not really like the true principles of service to others, and while expanding your consciousness and finding love and joy through actually producing it, not just bypassing, not just faking it. So those are my thoughts. Again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this, consider grabbing a book like Understanding Life After Death or The Afterlife and Beyond. Find them at afterlifetopics.com. You can become a patron or join our classes, or sign up for some consultations with me where I can help you with any of these subjects. It's Cyrus at cyruskirkpatrick.com. It's my primary email address. This is Cyrus. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next video.